Before I took up fly fishing, I used to do a lot of marlin fishing. And this is what they call a short stroker rod. It's only 3 foot long, big hand grip and a big butt section. And you could put a lot of pressure on the fish. So this is a 15 kilo line. We set the drag at 5 kilos, and you can put 5 kilo drag on that fish and you can't break it off. But the problem with this setup is that you wear the fish out and wear yourself out. So we then got a harness, which I'll show you, and that took all the pressure off the rod and off yourself, and you could land the fish a lot quicker. So this is a stand-up game fishing harness designed to take all the weight off the rod and off yourself. So you've got a rod bucket where the rod fits into the grooves here, and it can't twist. You've then got a harness which actually clips to the top of the reel here. And so when you fight the fish now, you put your hand on top of the reel, because if the line breaks, it'll smash you in the face. And then you can use your body, quite simply, to wind up and wind down. So using this technique, you can actually land the fish a lot quicker, and you can release the fish in far better condition than you can without using a harness. So when I then took up fly fishing and started catching game fish on fly, I found that nobody was using this sort of technique on a fly rod. And the fly rod certainly isn't designed to catch big game fish on, because it's too long and there's not enough leverage in it. So this is a 12-weight fly rod. That's just a Sexy Lips fly rod. The significant part about this rod is that Paul's actually designed it with a fiberglass section here, so you can put so much pressure on the fish. But the problem is that you can't put 5 kilos of pressure like you can with the short stroker, because obviously the rest of the rod, you just can't get that pressure on it. And if you try and fight this fish for half an hour or longer, you just cannot get enough pressure on it. You can see here the bend in this rod. And so the grip's too short and the butt section's too short. And so I thought about it and thought, well, can I apply the same technique we use for short strokers to a fly rod? Because I don't care whether people say it's fly fishing or not. This is all about preserving yourself and letting the fish go quicker. So what I've come up with then is a harness for a fly rod. And this again is, you cannot hold this section of the rod with this arm, or the right arm, whichever arm you want to be, for half an hour longer when you're trying to apply 3 to 4 to 5 kilos of pressure. I don't care how strong you are, you're just going to take too long. So I've come up with a gimbal, which will take in the rod butt. And then I've come up with a harness. It's a shoulder harness to allow me to take the pressure off the hands, if you like. So I can now use my body to wind, and that's with 5 kilos of drag, which is a lot of drag for a fly rod. And you can see here with this fiberglass butt, I tried the other day on a fish to break that, and I couldn't. I put a lot of pressure, and I was worried about here, but it didn't break. But I can now rest myself, but I can also continue putting pressure on that fish. However, I think there's better than we can do with this setup. So here's an immediate process improvement. It's got a small increase in the rod butt here to let the reel get away from the gimbal, but also it's now got a handhold up here. So I've got more control over it here. I've now got more control here. I can use my body again. As you can see with this rod, it hasn't got the lifting capacity that the other rod does here. So all I'm going to do is use my body. So I believe this is an even better improvement again. It's got a longer butt section here, so the reel's further away from the gimbal, so you're not going to hit your hand, and you've got more room. And also the top rod grip is higher, so you can put it. So this is just a matter of preference, I believe, that we've now got a system. We've got a rod butt where we can actually use our thighs. We've got a harness against our shoulders, so we can now use our body, and we can take the pressure off our arms. We can still hold that fish, and now we can wind up and we can wind down, and we can hold the same pressure of whatever it is. You know, I don't know what pressure that would be, because the fly line obviously is going to put a lot of drag on the fish as well. But this to me is a significant improvement for fly fishing, because it allows us now to manage the fish, to be able to get them in faster and release them at a better condition.